Man. What a month it's been. Alright, well, hello guys. Welcome to day 27 of Horror October on the film that we decided to watch very late last night was Audition, another film by Takashi Miike. I would argue better than Ichi the Killer. This film is somewhat similar, and in that it's got a lot of plot elements in it to understand, and it can feel a little confusing at times, but as opposed to Ichi the Killer, I feel like I was able to keep track of all of the plot elements pretty much, and pretty much understood the whole movie inside and out, unlike Ichi the Killer. And I want to say I can form a concrete explanation of the plot that hopefully is correct. But in the final 30 minutes of the movie does get kind of crazy and becomes kind of like non-linear and random. It can get a little confusing for some in the final 30 minutes. So Audition for the first like hour and a half just plays like a normal like romance story for the first hour and a half, and it's really good. It's really good for the first hour and a half, and it's also really good in the last half hour where it's like the horror part of it. So essentially this guy Ayumo, I think that's how you say it, is a widowed husband. He loses his wife in a hospital at the beginning, and then 7 years later, him and his son, who were like growing up together, are living together still, and his son feels like maybe the dad should get married again. So the dad decides to try to think about getting married again. And one of his friends is a film producer, auditioner. Either way, he's a guy who auditions people for movies. Essentially, this auditioner guy has this film script that needs like a female lead, and so he picks like 1,000 different applicants to audition for this. And this is like Ayumo's like way of trying to get a girlfriend or a new wife by looking through all these girls and seeing which one he wants the most. And for some reason, this one in particular girl, Asami, catches his eye, and he really wants to be with her, and he gets to know her and meet her. And it was kind of like one of those like one track thinking mentality where he's like only focused on this one girl out of like all the other 1,000 that he could have like given a chance. He was like, no, this is the one. And he chooses her, and they like start to date, and things are going pretty well. She's a little like shy, closeted, however you want to say, but things are going good. And then they finally decide to make love, have sex. And then this is where things get weird, because for a while you start to believe that something is really up with this girl, and that like something is totally wrong. But I think if I have this right, nothing was wrong with the girl at all. It was just the guy had extreme unconscious paranoia about what this girl would be like, that he has this terrifying nightmare after he has sex with her about her torturing him and like having all of these like bad things wrong with her. One of the things being that she had killed the owner of the bar she used to work at, that she no longer works at, even though she said she worked there. Two, that she had cut off fingers and a tongue off of a man and kept that man in her apartment. Three, that her family life was worse than she had previously said, because it was literally like a carbon copy of the previous scene where she was just saying, like, oh, my family is average, they're fine, they don't talk a lot to me, but they're fine. But in the dream, she's like, I was abused, I hated my mother, like this whole like history behind it. Um, and then last but not least, this is like the real fucked up part of the movie that makes the movie fucked up, is that she tortures him, and basically punishes him because she thought that he didn't just love her, because like she was claiming like he was like seeing girls from the other audition. He was claiming that he loved his son, so that counts as loving someone else and not only her. And yeah, she had like seen his drink, and when he drank his drink, he keeled over. So obviously she had like spiked it, and as you could tell, and she like put like needles in him, and she like sawed off his foot with like wire. And yeah. Oh, and this other guy, I think it's Mr. Shigama. I can't remember that name quite well, but I think it's Mr. Shigama. Her old ballet teacher had indeed burned her. Yeah, that is correct. Her ballet teacher had burned her as a child, but when he was dreaming about that, it was even worse, because he dreamed that she would like come back to kill him, and he would like watch her kill him, like with this wire, by like slitting his throat, the same way she cuts off his foot. But he finally wakes up and holds his foot, and he's like, oh, that wasn't real. But then he falls back asleep again, and then like he sees like the girl, his son like kills the girl pretty much, and he's like looking at the girl while he's on the ground, and she's like, I've never met anyone like you, so comforting. It was just like romantic. Basically the ending is like her saying in his dreams that, you know, she's the one for him, and she's not really dead, because in the end, none of the crazy shit that was happening was actually happening. It was purely just his fears about what could happen with this girl. And in the end, the girl is still perfectly normal. She's just very normal, and, you know, doesn't have anything really wrong with her. And I do have to say, like how I view this story and like how it goes down could be different to some, or might just be like wrong, because it could be up to interpretation, or I could just be totally wrong about this stuff being a dream. There is like a part like before they even have sex where like they show the girl in her room just staring at the phone, and then there's this like sack with like something moving inside of it, which in the dream we later see is this guy with the cut off fingers and tongue. So like, I don't know, but I feel like I feel like the explanation of that stuff being a dream makes the most sense, but then again, I could be wrong. And like, with this film specifically, I feel like there's a lot more of like themes that you can identify. Um, Maybe in Ichi the Killer too, but I felt like I could see more like themes in this film that you can like take away. The main one being is that like after like losing a relationship, especially like one as big as this guy's, where he went 7 years without like getting another wife. It can be really hard to try to get back into a new relationship where like somehow some way you're always worried about like what this person will be like, if they're the right one. And I think Takashi Miike is trying to say that, you know, we all have like fears in some way about what the right spouse could be like. And all of these dreams that this guy is having is like his fears coming alive like unconsciously. And that like we all handle it like in different ways, but he in particular was like pretty like fast paced when it came to like wanting to propose. So when he was like getting to that stage, like that's when he started having those dreams, because it was his fears coming alive, I feel like. And like even like during the auditioning process, like the auditioner guy, his friend, was like saying like he had doubts about her, and then like something didn't feel right. And then like he was like asking about her, like with other people, and he was like asking her specific questions to try to figure out if anything was wrong. And the whole time like he's like happy to see her and generally happy to be with her, but at the same time you can tell that he has like that fear that like something's not right, and that like this is too good to be true, and that like something is wrong with this girl. And we see that all come to fruition in his dream, essentially. But yeah, I really, really, really like this movie with all of those themes that we see and just the whole story throughout. Like I love the way the story is laid out in the first like hour and a half, even though it's not like horror at all. I just love all of it. I think it's really good all the way through with what we see with this man, trying to find this woman and seeing if she's the match for him. It's really like a romance for the first like hour and a half of the movie, but I personally like it. And like the last half hour is pretty fucking crazy, but it's pretty messed up. I'd have to put it up there with being one of the most messed up movies just for the last half hour. But then again, that's only the last half hour that's like that. And yeah, the last half hour is just totally different than the rest of the movie, also just because of like how like the scenes are laid out. And it's basically like you're watching a David Lynch movie, because everything is like out of order and non-linear. But that's also because he's in a dream. But yeah, it's all really cool. I love all of it. I think this one is trying to get at like more of like themes, rather than just like tell a story about a guy and his lover. At least to me, and that's what I really like about it. And as far as the rating for this movie goes, I'm going to rate it a 9.4 out of 10. I really liked it, and I really liked this guy's story and what we got to see. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave a like if you have, and subscribe to see more content. And we'll see you in the next one.